cabinet doors, prep, repaint, and reinstall, with most jobs starting as low as $23.95. And the best part is they will work around you, so you can still use your kitchen.
Let us transform your kitchen. Call us today for a free estimate.
So call Southern Swag today, 706-294-0244.
How do we decide what hotel to book? Fear not, I got you. Choice Hotels has a hotel for every type of stay. Like a comfort with the kiddos.
Spacious.
That's what they all say. Stay twice and get a $50 gift card when you book direct at choicehotels.com.
You're watching News 12 on your side.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
After an alleged sexual assault at Evans High School, a former student files a lawsuit against her former teacher, the school board, and the former school superintendent. Tonight, the I-Team sits down in an exclusive interview with Madison Corksey to hear moving in, and it may wash out our Thursday night plans.
Yeah, Riley, when can we expect to dry some of this out?
Unfortunately, guys, we're going to stay pretty wet this evening tonight. The good news is we do look much drier heading into just about 10 minutes.
Thanks, Riley. Tonight, the I-Team investigates if problematic teachers can take advantage of the education system because there's no system to stop them.
The arrest of Scott Hooker caught our attention last year. Despite the former Evans teacher having a documented history of problems with students, including sexual harassment, he was able to move to another nearby county and be hired. Tonight, the I-Team's Will Rio exposes how some troubled teachers can easily slip through the oversight cracks.
Yeah, more than a year ago, the I-Team broke the story about Scott Hooker and his history with the Columbia County school system. Scott Hooker is charged with improper sexual contact, sexual battery, and simple battery. This is how just one teacher slipped through the cracks of what seems like a broken system in the state of Georgia.
This is where a pattern of alleged inappropriate behavior started with the special education teacher. Accusations date back to 2015 at Evans High School in Columbia County. But 8 years later,
it's been difficult. It's been long waiting for all of this to kind of get settled and seeing where it's all going.
The I-Team began looking into the allegations. We requested Hooker's personnel file more than a year ago. It details when and where Hooker slipped through the cracks in the Columbia County School District. In 2015, a letter from the Evans High principal to the superintendent says a student is said to have called Hooker Daddy. Hooker received a written note of concern and was strongly advised to refrain from unprofessional behavior. 2 years later, in 2017, is when Madison Cooksey's alleged sexual assault happens.
1 minute I was in class, the next minute I'm in the office surrounded by police officers and my mom. And it's just a really surreal feeling knowing that 1 minute you're supposed to be in this safe environment teaching or learning from your teachers, and the next minute your whole life just kind of changes.
The Evans High principal sent a letter to Hooker after the school received a complaint from Cooksey. She accused him of side-hugging her, moving his hand down her back and touching the lower back and butt area. Hooker admitted to the school about giving the student a side hug or patting the student's back while sitting down in his chair. The principal recommended a formal letter of reprimand be placed in Hooker's personnel file. Another disciplinary action may be taken by the superintendent, Sandra Caraway. The letter states that if an incident or allegation was deemed unprofessional or if the code of ethics was violated, Hooker may be fired. 8 days later, then Superintendent Sandra Caraway sent her response to Hooker. She called his interactions with female students worrisome and said he could not be alone with or have physical contact with a female student beyond his duties. 2 months later, deputies were called to Evans High School again. Cooksey told deputies that Hooker would often cross paths with her and stand next to her while staring at her. Cooksey later transferred while Hooker continued to teach at Evans High School.
It's very, very mind-blowing that all of these things, even before my situation had happened, and it was just kind of, oh, you shouldn't do that, let's not do that anymore, that's not appropriate, instead of actions being taken in place to prevent things like this from happening again.
Hooker would send in his resignation letter at the end of the year, having accepted an administrator role at the Georgia School for Innovation in the Classics in Richmond County, where he taught for a little over a year before going to Burke County High School, where he would later be arrested.
multiple different schools and do the same thing. I just can't even put into words how it makes me feel knowing that that was able to happen, and who knows how many other than me and the other girl who was involved who could have been a victim of his. It's ridiculous.
So the I-team started asking questions. What exactly are the guidelines for school districts if something like this happens?
The I-team found the Georgia Professional Standards Commission oversees any individual with a teaching certification in the state. It creates and follows a code of ethics for educators to follow while they have a certification to teach. Standard 2 talks about conduct with students. Educators should maintain a professional relationship with all students inside and outside the classroom. Unethical conduct includes engaging in or permitting harassment or misconduct towards a student, soliciting or encouraging inappropriate written, verbal, electronic, or physical relationships with a student. Standard 9 handles professional conduct and says unethical conduct includes actions or behaviors or conduct that is detrimental to the health, welfare, discipline, or morals of students. Now, educators are required to report a breach of one or more of the standards in the Code of Ethics for educators no later than 90 days from the date the educator became aware of an alleged incident. An investigator with the commission says the only case they had on Hooker was from April of 2022 in Burt County, meaning it would seem no one from Columbia County reported Hooker's actions in 2017.
What do you think needs to change?
I'm not really sure where it takes down in the system of what exactly went wrong. All I know is that wherever it did go wrong, it doesn't need to go wrong again.
According to a 2010 report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the lack of oversight allows sexually abusive teachers to quietly move from school to school. On average, one offender passes through 3 different school districts before being stopped and can abuse as many as 73 children in their lifetime.
It's honestly pretty devastating to go through all of this and feel the way that I'm feeling without any backup other than, the people who are on my side and support me in that way. Columbia County hasn't really done their part, nor are they wanting to do their part, and it's just really tough for people in my situation going through that and wanting to come forward and wanting justice for the right things and nobody else wanting justice for you.
Cooksey and her lawyer, Clay Buckhalter, are filing this lawsuit against the Columbia County School District, Scott Hooker, and former Superintendent Sandra Caraway.
I just think in this entire situation, it was a complete failure on the Columbia County school system's part.
They're claiming instead of concerning themselves with protecting children, the entire administration did their best to sweep these matters under the rug.
They have been very hesitant to accept any wrong, that they were wrong and acted wrongly in this whole situation.
We reached out to the Columbia County Board of Education for comment, but we have not heard back. Georgia law allows the district 30 days to respond to the lawsuit.
I'm not going to let it slide, and I'm not going to back down until something is done about it. Something needs to be done. Things need to change. Rules, regulations, mandatory reporting, everything.
Despite her experiences, Cooksey wants to return to the classroom as a teacher.
What does it mean to go through all of this and still want to be a teacher?
After going through this, it pushes me more to want to be one of the good teachers in this world and protect the young children of this world more than anything. So I think there's a little bit more of a passion there now.
Scott Hooker is expected to be in court for his trial on August 21st in regards to Madison's case. The I-team will be there and we'll be sure to keep you updated on this entire case.
Please do. Definitely want to hear the outcome of that. Tonight, family and friends are grieving the loss of a Midland Valley High School basketball player. Yesterday afternoon, 16-year-old Tehran Kirkland crashed into another car on Jefferson Davis Highway. It happened just after 4 o'clock. The coroner says he was on Jefferson Davis Highway and he tried to change lanes, but he hit the rear end of another car. Keep in mind, he's a 16-year-old driver. His Honda flipped and he was thrown out of the car. The coroner says he was not wearing a seatbelt, and he died in the hospital this morning. His former basketball coach at Midland Valley had this to say about Tehran's death. He says, "I can remember his freshman year, first seeing him playing basketball in PE class and asking him to come to try out for our organization. I just thank God for seeing fit. Will forever be in our hearts and will forever be a Mustang."
A big announcement just a few hours ago from Governor Kemp. Millions of dollars coming to Richmond County. More than $5 million on the way for several projects, including improvements to May Park and Boykin Road Park. The Boys and Girls Club of Augusta getting more than $2 million for renovations. And Emmanuel County getting more than $6 million for 3 projects there, including a new Olympic-sized swimming pool at the Swainsboro Emmanuel County Recreation Department.
Big news for Augusta. We've been chosen as one out of only 5 cities in the entire country as a workforce hub city. It's part of the President's Investing in America program, and the idea here is to invest dollars here in Augusta to connect workers to jobs. So that means working with the local colleges and high schools, pouring in public and private dollars to train future workers for jobs the federal government hopes to create in clean energy and STEM fields.
It has been a very wet Thursday so far, and we're still looking at rain on our First Alert Radar network into tonight. We'll have an update there and also look at the weekend forecast just after the break.
Time at a $2,500 total cash allowance when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Visit Malcolm Cunningham Chevrolet.
So many hotels.
Trouble booking the family vacay? Come on. Comfort's free hot breakfast for the whole fam. They have waffles. And splendid pools. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
The storm clouds have been rolling in all day. A viewer sent us this video of dark clouds rolling over Thompson and Appling earlier today in this nice time lapse, all part of a larger system bringing rain to the two-state almost all day long, and we're not quite done with it yet.
Taking a look outside over Beach Island, you can still see those clouds moving past, and
Temperatures remain much cooler than average. Highs in the 70s next Monday through Thursday.
Looks good, Riley. Thanks a lot. A big send-off with a state championship on the line. We catch up with the Harlem Bulldogs baseball team later in sports.
And Augusta on high alert in case bikers retaliate after a shootout here. How the community is preparing to save lives if there's ever a need for an active shooter response again.
First Alert.
No one moves faster or works harder to get you the most money possible.
Get the strong arm.
The 12th suspect involved in that deadly shootout between 2 biker clubs is out of a hospital and in jail. 33-year-old Deja Dotson and 11 others facing 2 murder charges and 1 count of aggravated assault. More than 150 rounds flew through the air during that weekend shootout on Sandbar Ferry Road. Several people recovering from injuries. 2 people lost their lives. And now, after months of planning, today was the first active shooter training for the city.
And as you can see, it was a really busy day. There were up to 20 local and state agencies involved in this hands-on training. Our Nick Veland spoke to agents at the training who say real-life moments like this makes the difference in life and death.
Multiple agencies came together to put to test training for an active shooter situation. With incidents as early as this past weekend, local officials know that these trainings are crucial. Shots rang out at Laney's homecoming, and you can hear the fear that followed. Then, just this past weekend at Sandbar Ferry Road, the sheriff called it a wake-up call.
Over 150 shell casings were recovered at the scene.
The way we look at it, gun violence is a major public health problem in the U.S. It's a complex problem.
It's why Dr. Alejandra Baez has been working for 3 years to create better response plans when active shooters strike.
Sadly, we have to prepare for the worst. And the idea is hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Which is the training you see happening today. More than 15 agencies coordinating their response.
And this is an opportunity for us to train together, to work together, and to try to start the process of utilizing the NFPA 3000.
NFPA 3000 is a national response, already used statewide in a few states, but not Georgia. Augusta is the first in the state calling it #StrongAugusta, making this a community effort.
The idea is that the entire community is involved, that everyone, not just in Augusta, Richmond County, right, in the adjoining neighborhoods as well, they all are practicing for this horrible eventuality as well.
Because a quick response can be the difference in lives saved. With this being the first training with this new response method, agencies are now debriefing and figuring out what went right and what went wrong. In Augusta, Nick Veland on your side.
Now, next month, leaders who organized all of this will share what they learned today at a national conference in Vegas. There's also one coming up in D.C., and they're hoping to encourage other states, other counties to start the same type of program.
On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
How about the Harlem baseball team hitting the road today for their championship series in Rome? As you can see, our News 12 sports director Dan Booth is joining us live from Harlem High School on a big night for Bulldog fans.
Richard, despite the windy and rainy weather conditions, Bulldogs fans are out in full force tonight to support their sports teams. Just a few minutes ago, the Harlem baseball team got on their team bus, drove past a bunch of their fans, and started their journey to Rome for their state championship series. And when they did that, their fans went wild. There is a special connection between this community and this baseball team. That bond is beyond special, and the Bulldogs have certainly given them something to cheer for this year. Harlem's entering their state championship series against Ringgold with a 34-1 record, and they've swept every playoff series they've had so far this postseason. The last time the Bulldogs won state was back in 1986, and this year's team has the chance to end a championship drought that's lasted for more than 35 years. Harlem's state championship series begins tomorrow night with a doubleheader in Rome at Advent Health Stadium, the home of the Rome Braves. The first pitch of Game 1 is scheduled for 5 o'clock, and I'll have live coverage from Rome throughout the night with all of the latest updates. Now, on top of the fans celebrating everything the baseball team has done this season and still has the opportunity to do, fans are here as well because the spring football game is happening. So as we can tell, the fun times are just going to keep on rolling here over at Harlem. Reporting from Harlem High School, Dan Booth on your side.
All right, thanks for that, Dan, and best of luck to the Bulldogs as they head to Rome for that championship series. We are still looking at a good bit of rainfall here from our downtown Augusta cam. Temps are cool in the 60s, and we got some pretty good breezy conditions as well. Now look at the forecast just after the break.
Your safety comes first with the First Alert Radar Network. First just got faster.
Well, we are still dealing with a good bit of rainfall across the southeast. This boundary is going to continue our rain chances this evening and tonight. We got some steady rain still across some portions of the CSRA, especially the further south you go between Screven and Allendale County. For us here around the Augusta Metro, we do have some light rain right along the Savannah River. So between North Augusta and Augusta, some good steady light rain there, and that is trying to make its way closer towards Martinez and Evans. But there are some spots that are seeing a little bit drier conditions. Not the case, though, from our downtown Augusta cam. You can see this a live view towards the medical district. Wet conditions, temps are still in the mid-60s. We're going to generally just drop a few more degrees as we head into later tonight. May see some periods of dry weather that last an hour or two, but as we head into the overnight, we'll likely see a few more sprinkles across the area. Good news is for Friday, we could see maybe an early morning shower, but I would say anytime past an hour or two after sunset. We do look completely dry through our Friday afternoon. Those temperatures remain below average, though, only going to reach the 70s for highs again on Friday. Moving ahead into the weekend, we do have Armed Forces Day on Saturday, so we have thunder over Evans starting at 5:30 Saturday afternoon. Right now, cannot rule out that maybe there is a stray shower storm, but definitely doesn't look like a washout, so don't cancel going out to that event just yet.
Riley, thanks. Our next live update comes at 7 o'clock on NBC 26.
Then we're back with more News 12 tonight at 11. We'll see you then.